Chapter 7 New Friend. Yuki awoke to the sound of hammering and pulled the blanket up over her head to keep out the noise. For a moment she thought she was back in Berkeley, but as she moved, the noisy rustle of straw reminded her where she was. It was dark, and Yuki thought it must still be about 6 o'clock. She flopped over and tried to find her way back to sleep, but the hammering began again. "Stop it, Ken!" she shouted toward the front of the stall. "You're going to wake everybody up with all that noise." The hammering stopped, and then after a brief silence, a voice apologized for waking her up. Yuki was wide awake now, for it wasn't Ken who had answered her. It was their neighbor from the other side of the partition that divided their stalls. Now Yuki heard the voice of a young girl whisper, "How can anybody still be asleep at 9 o'clock?" Yuki flushed with embarrassment. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I thought it was my brother." She leapt from her cot and saw that Mother's cot was already empty. So was Ken's. She had slept right through breakfast, but Mother had brought back some toast for her and left a note saying she'd gone to do some laundry. By the time Yuki came back from washing her face, however, Mother had already returned with her laundry still unwashed. "Imagine," she said wearily, "all the tubs were already taken, and there were at least 6 people waiting for every tub. Besides that, the hot water had run out." "No hot water already?" It was a woman's voice from the next stall. She had joined in their conversation as though she were sitting right there beside Yuki. "They say there might be more this afternoon," Mother called back, "but no one seems to know when." "Ah, well," the woman answered, "I really don't want to do a wash anyway. I cannot abide by those terrible showers. I nearly scalded myself yesterday." The voice was that of an older woman. Yuki pictured her as being small and gray-haired, with gold-rimmed glasses sliding halfway down her nose. "I'm going to have a good soak," she went on, "even if I have to find an old barrel." "Oh, Grandma," it was the young girl again. Yuki simply had to see what her neighbors looked like. She burst out of the door, and at almost the same moment, a young girl about Yuki's age opened the neighbor's door. Her straight black hair was pulled back into 2 long braids, and her small, thin face was intense and serious. "Hi," Yuki said. The girl looked her up and down and said softly, "Hello. My grandfather says he's sorry he woke you up." "Oh, that's okay," Yuki said quickly. "I'm sorry I yelled at him. Are you living with your grandparents then?" The girl nodded. "My parents are dead," she said simply. Yuki scarcely knew what to say in response to a statement of such finality. So far in her life, Yuki had not met death or even brushed close to it, except for the time her first dog had died. Even then, she hadn't seen a dead being. She had only left a sick dog at the veterinarian's and never seen him again. She couldn't even begin to conceive of the sadness of living without her mother and father. She searched for a way somehow to share in the girl's grief and said, "My father's interned. He's been taken to Montana." The girl's grandmother peered out of their stall now and motioned to both of them. "Invite your friend inside, Emiko," she said. The old woman didn't look at all the way Yuki had imagined. She was short and plump, with great rolls of flesh around her stomach, and a broad smile that revealed a missing tooth at each side of her mouth. It seemed strange to see a woman her age wearing slacks, but she seemed perfectly at ease in them. Come in," she urged once more. Their stall was just like the one Yuki lived in, but it was a mad jumble of cots, baggage, cartons, and boxes. It was obvious that they brought a great deal more than they could carry by hand. Emiko's grandfather was in the rear of the stall, taking apart some wooden crates and rebuilding them into a rough but sturdy table. No wonder he was making such a racket, Yuki thought. He scarcely looked up as she came in, but nodded as he hammered to indicate that he had taken note of her presence. "Grandfather," the old woman called to him, "this is our neighbor." And she quickly learned Yuki's name and all about her family. "Our name is Kurihara," the old woman said, "but you can just call me Grandma. We had a Japanese food shop in San Francisco where we sold bean curd cake and fresh tuna and rice and tins of bamboo shoot and eel and—" Yuki swallowed hard. "You're making me hungry," she admitted. "I've been starving since yesterday." Miko's grandmother stopped in dismay. "Hungry!" she exclaimed. "Well, wait a minute then." Plugging in her electric hot plate, she set a small wire screen on it and put 5 rice cakes filled with sweet bean paste on top to toast. "I brought these along from our shop," she said, smiling at her own cleverness. "They're a little stale, but they'll be fine in a minute." The old woman swept aside some clothing to make space on a box for Yuki to sit down, and then, like Mother, quickly got out her teapot to make tea for her new visitor. She glanced at her granddaughter as she bustled about. Talk to your new friend, Emiko, she urged. Then turning to Yuki, she explained, She's not a very talkative one, but you will become friends. She announced the last as though she were in charge of the world and had decided that it would be so. Yuki didn't mind at all. It would be wonderful to have a friend next door. They wouldn't even need a telephone to talk to with each other. All they'll have to do was call out over the partition. When the cakes were properly toasted, Miss Kurihara poured some tea and called Mother to come join them. There was much bowing and greeting when Mother came in, and Emiko's grandfather even put down his hammer and came to have tea with them. Yuki never cared much for Japanese sweet cakes. She would far rather have a piece of chocolate cake or hot buttered Danish pastry. But this was a strange new life, and eating Japanese cakes in the middle of the morning seemed to be part of it. Imagine serving tea to a guest for the first time in a horse stall, Emiko's grandfather said, shaking his head. I never dreamed that America would do such a thing to us. But Miss Kurihara refused to share the old man's dejection. Well, if we had not been sent here, we would not have met Mrs. Sakane or Yuki, so there is something to be happy about after all, isn't there? And she laughed a hearty laugh that gave her plump body a good shake, and Yuki couldn't help but laugh with her. Ken was gone all morning, and when he got back, he had several pieces of used lumber and a pocket full of nails. He looked as pleased as though he'd found some sunken treasure. I got all this at the discarded lumber pile, he said with a pleased grin. Jim's coming over this afternoon to help me put up some shelves. How about making us a table, too? Yuki suggested. And a bench would be nice, Mother added. In that case, I better get back and get more lumber, Ken said quickly. It's disappearing like snow on a hot day. Let me come with you, then. It was Emiko's grandfather, and now it was Ken's turn to discover that their lives had become hopelessly entangled with their neighbors, whether they liked it or not. The neighbors on the other side were a quiet elderly couple whose children had married and gone away. The man had been a barber and offered to cut Ken's hair for him whenever he wanted a haircut. They were pleasant neighbors and kept pretty much to themselves. By afternoon, Yuki began to feel bored. Let's go scout around the rest of the camp, Emmy, she suggested to her new friend. Let's go see if the other stables are any better. They set off quickly, circling the wide track and going in the opposite direction from the grandstand. They discovered that there were dozens of stables like theirs. They were called converted buildings, another euphemism, as Jim would say, and wherever they ran into friends, they discovered that the complaints were the same everywhere. The latrines were dirty and doorless, and there wasn't enough toilet paper. The showers couldn't be adjusted properly, and the food was horrible. It's the same all over, Yuki observed. The whole camp is pretty awful. They eventually found the bachelor's quarters, and Yuki discovered Mr. Toda sitting outside in the sun playing Go with a bald-headed man. They were discussing the war as they pondered their moves. Perhaps Japan will win, bald-headed man said. Look what they did to Pearl Harbor. Yuki was shocked to hear such talk. None of her parents' friends had such silly notions. She is not going to win, Yuki said hotly. America will win because we're fighting for what's right. The old man glanced up from the Go board and blinked as he looked at her. Huh, you were young, you do not know very much. Yuki was ready to explode when Mr. Toda came to her defense. I do not agree with you, old man, he said firmly. I believe she is right. And then he put one of his black stones in just the right place to win the game. Good, Yuki said, pleased. You've won. She didn't like the bald-headed, sour-voiced old man and wanted to get away from him quickly. Come on, Emmy, let's go, she urged. And with a quick goodbye to Mr. Toda, she and Emmy hurried on to finish their tour of the camp. It was too bad Mr. Toda had to live with a man like that, Yuki thought. She hoped there weren't any more like him in camp. That was the whole trouble with scooping up all the Japanese like so many fish in a net and dumping them into one big camp. The good were thrown in with the bad, the kind with the mean, the gentle and polite with the selfish and greedy. It was just sheer luck that they had been squeezed in between two pleasant neighbors. Yuki turned to Emmy and said, I sure am glad you live next door. Emmy nodded. Me too. How about you? She said with a quick grin, and Yuki felt much better.